I've always loved houseplants in the home. They look good, they lift your spirits, and they cleanse the air. What's not to like? Here are 7 of my particular favourites. After a few years in the wilderness, houseplants are really back in vogue, and that thrills me no end. At number 7, a trailing plant. This is Zebrina pendula. It's a native of Mexico and Central America, and it's really good in a hanging pot like this. Or you can stand it on a shelf and let it cascade down in front. Just make sure it's got a modicum of light, because that way you'll get this lovely contrast of the stripes on the leaves of purple and grey-green. I grew this plant when I was a nipper, and one of the reasons I grew it was so easy to grow. You can nip off a shoot tip 3 or 4 inches long and root it in a jam jar of water. It is so easy to propagate. In terms of light, any good indirect light, it'll even cope with bright sunshine. But when it's hanging in midair in a pot like this, remember, because it's surrounded by air, particularly if it's warm, centrally heated air, it will dry out quite quickly. Just going to pop this one down then to bring in number 6, which is the dragon tree. Dracena is its Latin name, native of Madagascar, places like that. And you'll notice with this, these lovely fountains of foliage at the top, which have this glorious stripe with this pink edge. And when it starts to get too tall, bite the bullet, cut it back down here somewhere. It will look ugly for a while, but very soon, little bubbles of sprouting shoots will appear, and they turn into these extra heads of foliage. If you're putting a group of houseplants on the floor in a corner, this is a good one for the back, but also it's architectural in its own right. Slip this plastic pot into a nice outer container and you've got a really handsome feature. What it will enjoy, to avoid the tips of these leaves becoming brown, is a bit of atmospheric moisture, so try and keep it away from a radiator. And with all these plants, tin tray, bit of gravel, keep the gravel moist, stand the plant on the tray, and it'll have a little moisturising Turkish bath around it at all times if you can just keep the gravel damp. At number 5, a plant that is really difficult to kill. Now that's a challenge, isn't it? This is it. Sansevieria, the mother-in-law's tongue. I'm turning it because actually that's quite a good thing to do with houseplants. If they've got light coming from one angle, do turn them every couple of weeks to make sure, because they always grow to the light, and they grow more evenly. This is a glorious succulent from West Africa and parts of Asia, and because it's got very succulent leaves, that means it can cope with drying out. Again, the way to kill this is to overwater it to keep it soggy. Don't wait until the compost is really quite dry before you give it a soak, then don't go back until it's dry again. We take a lot of our house plants and garden plants for granted, but when we get up close and personal with them, we see they really are remarkably constructed, and this makes this enormous great flame of growth. Loves really good light, so if you've got a sunny windowsill, it can cope. And here the plastic pot is just dropped inside a cashpo, to give it its posh name, and it's also got plastic inside it, so that means it won't stain your furniture when you're watering it. It's an unfortunate common name, isn't it, mother-in-law's tongue, implying that all mother-in-laws have rather a sharp and waspish tongue. Not true of most. A real whopper coming now. This is the Kentia palm, or Howea. Hugely popular with the Victorians, the parlour palm they call it. It would stand in the corner of the room on something they called a whatnot. Really tolerant of low light levels, which were predominant in Victorian sitting rooms and parlours. So that's useful if you've got a room which isn't terribly well lit. Again, just once it's feeling dry at the top, give it a soak and then don't return with the watering can. What you can do is keep these leaves clean. Just get yourself a bit of kitchen roll or damp loo paper and wipe them, particularly in winter, because that way the low light that they can tolerate is increased a little bit. You'll see the amount of muck that comes off, and it's really useful to do that with any glossy leaved houseplant. And if you've got too near a radiator with it, you will find that the leaf tips here, the frond tips, start to go brown, so keep it away from a heat source. At number 3, a challenging plant, not for the beginner, but incredibly spectacular. This is the fiddle leaf, Ficus lyrata. It has these whacking great leaves, shaped like, well, not exactly a Stradivarius, but you can see why it's called the fiddle leaf from the underside of that leaf there. It is shaped like a violin. It's glorious, absolutely lovely, but a bit tricky. It doesn't like changes of temperature and changes of light level, so once you've got it, try and keep it settled in the same place. Reasonably warm. It comes from West Africa, so it doesn't like really cold rooms. And like that Kentia palm, this is one that really does benefit for having these glossy leaves wiped over every now and again. You can see that this is a plant which grows in tropical rainforests. It has these massive great leaves to catch water, channel them down the stem to the roots, but also to make as much use as whatever light is available to it. So relatively low light levels, but I'd make sure it wasn't in too dark a place and that you keep it warm but not hot, warm but not cold. See what I mean about it being a bit tricky? But that said, it's a glorious plant and it will get really quite tall. It used to grow in a palm house at Kew where I worked, and I've always loved it. If you want something easier to grow, then plump for this. It hasn't made my top 7, but I feel a bit embarrassed now. The Swiss cheese plant. So called because, rather like Swiss cheese with holes in it, it has holes in its leaves. Monstera deliciosa. The juvenile leaves are entire, that means they're whole, without a hole. And then as they get older, so they develop holes in them like this. And if you want to have a competition with a friend to see who can grow the most monstrous monstera, it's really worth a go. Very carefully put this down there while I bring in number 2, hugely spectacular. This is Calathea. Now there are lots of Calatheas, and most of them have these gloriously marked leaves. It's a tricky plant. It likes it warm. It's very happy again in indirect light, so it's a classic good houseplant for a centrally heated home. But don't let the air around it become too dry, or you will get this browning of the leaf tips. A tricky one, another challenge, but we like challenges as houseplant growers. If we can give it warmth and we can give it humidity, it will be really very happy in quite reasonable light. So as a spectacular talking point, you'll find that you can create a little bit of jungle in the corner of your room with a Calathea. What could possibly be more popular than that? Well, something that's much easier to grow and that is, I suppose, the most popular houseplant in the country. It's very tolerant of all kinds of conditions. This is it, quite simply, the peace lily. You'll find it in corners of living rooms, of kitchens, of bathrooms, with varying degrees of success in terms of getting it to flower well and frequently. But when it is happy, you get these lovely white sail, and in the centre, the spadix, not to be confused with spandex, something quite different. It copes with relatively erratic watering, provided you don't overdo it and make it absolutely boggy and soggy at the bottom. It's a really good doer, a good all-rounder, and I love it when the new spathes erupt from the centre of the plant and you see them coming out in this glorious confection of green and creamy white. Again, it's a plant which benefits from turning. I always say every plant has a front and a back, and that's because, generally speaking, the front is the bit that's been leaning towards the light, and the back has been leaning away. So this is a good example to remind you to keep turning a plant so that you get a good, even spread of flowers and foliage. If you're going to go for one houseplant and take a punt on it to see how you get on, try the peace lily. If you follow those little tips and wrinkles, it shouldn't let you down. So if you don't have a garden, just look how green and bright and cheery your life can be in a single room. I feel here as though I'm sitting in the jungle, and I'm feeling better for it already. Houseplants. No home should be without at least 3. If you're looking for gardening tips like this, why not subscribe to my channel? You'll find ways of improving your garden, whatever its size, every week.